I cuss too much. I try real hard. If my kids are on, I'm totally PG. But if my kids aren't on,
Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to East of Anime, the podcast where we discuss, yes, you guessed it, anime. I'm the Big Bad Moon. Right over here on the right is Hal in 3D. She's your other host. And just below me is Bad Strategy. He's been your other host. And right over here on the across from me is Suavecito. He's our guest today. Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. I'm happy to be here.
yay! I'm doing good.
Oh, yeah.
Happy New Year!
That's true. It is the new year. Welcome, 2021. We'll start the slog here with some anime. So Helen, how's your week? How was your New Year? Did anything exciting?
Not really. But, I mean, I did the New Year's Eve stream with Suavecito, which was really, really fun. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Other than that, I've just been playing Shenmue 3, so.
Nice. Solid. Bad, what have you been doing? How was your New Year?
It's good. Got an air fryer. I made French fries. It was very exciting.
I had some of the French
I'm
fries.
excited.
They were great.
You cook all the time, and it tastes
We
good.
also made pizza. Okay, so the pizza we made. Okay, so it was cream cheese sauce,
Mhm.
not a red sauce,
Sure.
but with like onions and garlic, and cheese with bacon and jalapenos on top. It was a popper pizza. It had a whole wheat dough, and we made it all ourselves.
So it was really good, but it was not as like saucy as I like.
It needed more
Saucy.
acidity.
It
I
needed a
think.
little more saucy. A little more
It
sauciness.
could have done with a bit more sauce. It also needed more acidity, though. And something I realized is that the jalapenos aren't enough, because if you just add more jalapenos, you increase the spiciness.
Right.
And it doesn't need more spiciness. So I'm thinking maybe next time we do like some sauerkraut.
Totally. That sounds awesome. And I think this was a pizza that worked really well with blue cheese. Just dipping blue cheese in it. It was a jalapeno popper. It made sense. So Suavecito, how was your New Year's? Do anything fun?
Yeah, I did the streamer event for New Year's Eve. I had so many amazing streamers. Stayed up till 4:30 a.m. and slept for the rest of New Year's.
That sounds like a pretty good New Year.
Yeah, it was good.
Heck yeah. Oh, and of course for New Year's we all also watched Kakeguri, which is the show that we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
Kakeguri, what was it? Kakeguri, the
Compulsive
Gambler. Is that?
Does Kakeguri translate to compulsive gambler?
It might just be a subtitle. So I have no idea. I don't know what the main character's name is either. I was thinking, I don't know. It may be Kakeguri. I don't speak Japanese.
It might depend on who we decide the main character is.
That's fair. That is an interesting
So,
question.
Kakeguri means bet crazy.
Which probably translates to compulsive gambler. That's fair. That makes sense. So Kakeguri, interesting. Helen, give us your thoughts.
I thought it felt like being on a train. Like,
That's fair.
it's 100 miles an hour.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. On a train. Hey, Suavecito, what were your initial thoughts about Kakeguri?
I definitely agree with that on the train. It was very relatable to the being rich aspect and being poor aspect of.
Okay.
The rich, the strongest survive, to the weakest are treated like dirt. So I really enjoyed it like that.
Okay. And Bad, thoughts?
It's interesting. I feel like it has the message. It has the same messaging issues that I have with most Chinese manhwa.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's very stylized in the extreme, and I like some of the stylization.
Yeah, I can
think
understand
they go
that.
too far in some elements.
Okay. So let's talk about Kakeguri and what exactly that is, what happens in the show. So I'll go ahead and try to sum it up a little bit and see if you guys think I did a pretty good job. So basically, there's a school, and the school, within the school, all of the students gamble. I don't actually think that the gambling is part of the curriculum. I think it is an extracurricular activity.
It makes it seem like the gambling is voluntary and
Right.
the classes are kind of separate from that.
Right. We never see any of the classes in this show. Or do we see a desk? There's a couple of scenes where
I
there's
don't know.
seen.
I don't think we see any teachers.
We never see any teachers. I don't think. We see like a desk or two, but really you could replace the school with a casino or anything, because the fact that it's a school really makes very little difference.
It feels like the school is run by the students.
Right.
You know,
The
it's
school.
like
Yeah.
a
I don't think there's an adult in the show.
Yeah, I don't know if there is an adult in the show.
So yeah. So basically, the students at the school, they spend all of their time gambling. And so gambling is kind of the focus of this society. So the main character, or well, one of the characters that we enter the show, comes in and starts gambling. And she basically wants to. Well, we don't really know what her motivations are, but she basically starts gambling with the kind of mid to high tier. In the like social hierarchy characters that exist within the show. As far as like the actual like story of the show, and this is probably going to be one of my issues, is it's a little bit light, because essentially this character that enters the scene to start gambling, we don't really know what she wants, and that's part of her mystery. She just starts gambling with all of the kind of high rollers at the school.
I mean, they kind of hint at it though. Like
they kind of hint at it. Kind of hinting at it is kind of nebulous. So
Expand. Have Helen expand.
okay, Helen, please. Do you want to expand?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's dark AF. Like, she's
Yeah.
in it because she knows that this is corrupt AF. So
Right.
she's trying to break down the fundamentals. God, I can't talk today. She's trying to break him down because she doesn't agree, but she also wants to win.
I'm not actually sure to what extent she is opposed to the corruption element of
Okay.
I feel like
I
she
think
plays
to
a
some
part in that
extent
too.
she is.
Okay.
Oh,
So
I agree,
Yeah,
100%.
I'm going to round off the explanation so we have a little more context. So basically, this person is going in. There is a school council that controls the school. If you lose all your money gambling, then you drop down to the bottom of the social hierarchy, and they brand you if you're a girl, a mittens, like a little cat, basically, like you're an animal, and then if you're a guy, you're a Fido or something like that. So you're basically an animal, and people own you. They apparently can also arrange your marriages and do whatever they want with your life. So really, the goal of like the students of the school is to gain money and not go into debt, because if you go into debt, horrible social things will happen to you. And then the characters start interacting. So that's, and the main character is like starting to challenge like the people that are part of the school council. So with that said, yes. Thoughts on the interactions between the characters, because there's kind of there are three main characters basically.
Sorry,
Because there's the main girl who's like really good, right?
yeah, Yumiko. Then you got Mary.
Jabami.
Right.
There's Ryota, and there's Mary.
He's right.
Is Ryota who's what's the guy's name?
Ryota is he's the guy.
He's the guy.
Yes. I think it's Itsuki, the one that bites her nails off. Isn't she like
Right.
part of the gang too?
She,
Because,
that's interesting, because she kind of later on she becomes more part of the group. Okay, that being said, so myself and Bad Strategy, we watched the first season. We did not watch. I know that it looks like there's a second season. I don't know how far it is. We saw it on there. We only watched the first season, and so the first season ends. Also, spoilers. If you haven't watched the show and you want to not get spoiled, this is a weird place to be right now. So at the end of the first season, basically the school council gets like dissolved because the main character, what is her name, or the one who's really good at gambling?
Jabami.
You both said a different name. Oh my god.
I think her name is
last
Yumiko
name.
Chibami.
Okay,
first name.
I don't know which one I said.
I'm gonna call it Yumiko.
Yeah.
So Yumiko basically challenges the vice president of the student council to a final big gambling match, and he loses like 10 billion yen or something like that. And also he gambles his life away. Like literally he puts his life up as a raise for the bet. So he loses his life. But I don't know what they're going to do with him.
If you're talking about the guy, his name's Ryota.
Ryota? Oh, yeah.
Yumiko is the girl.
And she's the girl with like the red eyes?
Yes.
Actually, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm just going to call him Red Eyes.
Red eyes.
Red eyes. Teal eyes. Everybody knows teal eyes.
Yes.
Okay. So, at the end of the first season, the student council is dissolved, which kind of disrupts the social hierarchy. That's the big thing at the end of the season. And all the characters there at the school and the social hierarchy has been upturned. So, let's talk about some really good aspects of the show. Suavecito, what did you really like about it?
I would like to say what I liked was the aura and like the presence that each character gave for like kind of like orgasmic when they're gambling.
Right.
You know, like, oh my gosh, this is like the thrill. And like Yumiko, basically her thing is she'd rather risk it all. She doesn't care. You know, if she loses, she loses. But she's so self-aware of everything, of how people are cheating or not, that she's just like, I'm ready to bet my own life if I have to. And then just winning or losing, it doesn't matter. But I really like that aspect.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, this was an interesting aspect of the show, because this is like they have a very I would say that it is distinct in the tonality of it, but it does have a kind of a similar thing to Food Wars.
Yes.
Except it's not
food. I would agree with that.
I think in this particular show, it's a lot more visceral.
Food Wars
and crazy.
Is also, Food Wars is like people are like orgasming over food.
Right.
It's so good and incredible. This is something like that combined with like insanity.
Yeah, because they're all
it's
kind of
really
crazy.
Unhealthy. Like in Food Wars, it's like they're better for having eaten. In this, it's like they're clearly lesser for having partaken in this.
And one thing I will say, I think all of the characters in Kakeguri are all crazy. I don't think I think the only character that's like minutely sane
stable
is Ryoto. The guy.
I just want to say, when it comes to all the characters, it's crazy how friendly they start out, but as soon as the gambling's involved, they're enemies. They're not friends anymore. They're really willing to backstab the next person. It doesn't matter. And that's so awesome about it. You never know, because like once gambling's on the table, it's like, all right, hold my earrings. Like this, everything's all bets are off.
So, and this is an interesting thing, and I wonder, Bad, what you might have to say about this, because this is kind of your wheelhouse. So there is, I don't know if I want to say mixed messaging, but it's very, very prominent. This like gambling is bad because these people are crazy, and this is clearly very unhealthy. They're like but then a little bit, you know, it's like romanticizing the whole thing a little bit, but in like a crazy way. Okay, maybe it's, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, it's
unpack it. No, or bad.
It is the same story you see if you read Chinese manhwa.
Okay.
It is, most Chinese manhwa does this. Chinese manhwa is very like homogenous in that it tends to present the world all in the same way. It is the world is arbitrary,
right?
Except for when you cheat. Cheating isn't arbitrary.
That's fair.
And
as long as you don't get caught.
Everybody cheated in this.
And what is it? It's like the world's arbitrary except for cheating. The people with power. Oh yeah, it's zero sum. So you only have more power if you took that from other people. And so the like gambling situation is the people who are on top are the best cheaters who have stolen the most from others. And so it's sort of a situation where the gambling is clearly wrong and evil, but it's also the only option because the world is set up in this arbitrary way. And Jabami is less of a character and more of a force of nature. She is the product of this like insane arbitrary world. And she is the very embodiment of the world, of the like insanity of the world. Because she's like,
that's the student council president, or the that's
Jabami is the main girl.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so her rise through the hierarchy, beating all the people, I think is something like the karmic justice of the mad system that has been produced coming back to like reap the people who have been taking advantage of the system.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting. It's framed in in an interesting way. In that way.
Disagreement.
Who disagrees?
I don't
Hit
know.
me.
I agree with a lot of your points. I wanted to actually add on that. That Jabami, how when she's gambling with other people, she obviously wins, but her way of winning is like kind of embarrassing the other person to make them feel like they're worthless, and in a weird way, her aura and like how like the eyes are so like symbolic of the whole craziness aspect of that. It kind of installs fear into her opponents and then changes them and like for the good. And then like
interesting.
The craziness about it is the president is as crazy as Jabami, and I feel like they have the same type of aura, and nobody can like be best.
I think part of it is that she's such a like embodiment of the system that people seeing how crazy she is helps them to realize how like absurd the like
gambling
reality is of the setting.
Yeah, no, and that's interesting because as the characters interact with them over the course of the show with Jabami, they, I don't know if I want to say they become better people, but they become they turn to the side of the protagonists. So like the first person she beats, the blonde-haired girl, she beats her and like turns her, like destroys her social status, and then she ends up joining her. The main character guy, of course, joined her first. Then of course the tears her nails off girl, she is bested by her and she ends up joining the protagonist. They all still have the same motivations, or for the most part the same motivations, but they end up joining the protagonists. Helen,
why
please.
don't you?
You're so silent. You're so quiet. What do you think?
I know, I'm never this quiet. No, I agree with what you're saying, and I love the different arcs. So like the game show arc was like so interesting to me. Like how they dissected every little bit of that was, I feel like they really dive into this anime in the sense like they're very meticulous. So I thought that was really cool.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think, okay, let's talk about the function of characters. So
All right,
I think
let's
Ryota, I think the only purpose for Ryota is to be there to be like, hey audience, I'm a normal person like you. Also, let me explain-o on your face.
Oh my god, okay.
I also want to say about Ryota because I feel like he played a bigger role than just that. I feel like he grew in the show because when he first started, he was beat by Mary and he was shy. He felt like his life was worthless. Basically, he was treated like dirt and he was a pet. And I felt like when Yagami, it's like basically gave him the confidence that he needed to feel like he can be a person, be himself. So I think he definitely showed, maybe you just need one person or just see a certain chain reaction to change yourself for the better. So I felt like Jabami was a icon.
Yeah, the finale of the first season definitely does show some character growth for him, where he's like, I reject the path that was laid out for me. I am going to gamble and be courageous
Yeah.
and choose a thing. And yeah.
Yeah, no,
I agree.
and he starts to do the same thing with the crazy chick with the gun,
Yeah.
where he deciphers the messages.
Yeah.
Okay, so interesting thoughts. How about this? And Helen, I'm going to start with you because you've just been so quiet today. What is your least favorite aspect of the show so far, or as it stands?
So for me, my least favorite aspect was the over centralization, I guess. I felt like it was almost too much.
Okay. Over centralization.
it-
Can you unpack that a
So
little bit?
like, yeah,
Okay.
so like it was very romanticized, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like there was even more to that, where I feel like they walked a fine line. I don't feel like they completely passed that line. I think they did a really nice job doing that, but at the same time, like there were some times where I felt like it crossed it a little.
Right.
Yeah,
So
like
that
I
was
think you're referring to the one-eyed character whose name escapes me.
I don't remember.
I forgot.
Crazy chick with the gun.
Yeah, Midari. Midari.
Yeah,
Midari?
yeah, Midari.
Yeah. Mhm.
It was a little
Is it a bit much?
sometimes a bit
Bit
much.
much?
A
Yeah.
bit much.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't have words today.
That's totally fair. No, yeah, that's totally fair. Suavecito, what do you think your kind of least favorite part of the show was?
I kind of agree with Helen. Like, it could be a little NSFW, not suitable
Yeah.
for work.
What
And
do you-
it's
like
just,
a little?
it's just,
Just-
I
A little?
I was being generous. I was being very generous.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
It's not something I could be like at my parents' house and be like, okay, have
Yeah.
the volume up. It's just like, what are you watching? And it's, no, I can't. It's just,
It's nothing.
that like drew me a little bit away from the show. I understand why they did it, but it can be
Same.
over dramatic, and like
Yeah.
it's something like also like Food Wars did the same thing.
Yeah,
It
totally.
was just a little toned back a
So
little
funny
bit.
though.
Well,
Yeah,
so
they did
Food
it in a
Wars,
different
it was
way.
fun.
Yeah, they did it in a different way. The other one in Kakeguri is just very sexualized.
right. Well, and this is okay. So here's how I feel about like the compare or bad. You want to go ahead? I don't know.
You can go ahead. Yeah.
So I feel like the difference between this between Kakeguri and Food Wars with respect to this like exaggerated sexualization of like what they're doing is that Food Wars eating food is a universal experience that everybody loves. Basically, I don't know any humans at all that go, oh yeah, I don't like eating ever. Pretty much everybody is like, oh yeah, I like eating food. There are some foods I like. So it's a universal experience, and there's nothing wrong with eating food. It is an innocent thing. And so, and of course it is not, it's much toned down from Kakeguri. Gambling is already something that in a lot of cultures, a lot of places is kind of immoral. It's kind of wrong. It's not like, it's not a good thing, an objectively good thing, or an objectively neutral thing even. So there's already kind of an issue, a stigma, yeah, kind of a tension there. And Kakeguri, the characters are a little crazy. Like in Food Wars, it's like understandable. You get it. It's food.
So-
In Kakeguri, they're like a little unhinged, and so it's a little uncomfortable. And then they take the sexualization pretty far.
So the depiction in Kakeguri is the characters are intentionally depicted as being ugly. That's one of the things they're striving for. Is like they will do the like extreme character face to show the character like in a hideous way, like enjoying something that is intentionally meant to be perverse. In Food Wars, it's funny because it's actually meant to be beautiful. Right. Like the characters dancing naked through flowers because this is what the experience is of eating food.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's definitely there's this very intentional, like making the character ugly and making the character like twisted in a way that is uncomfortable to emphasize like the the issue, the problem, the psychological, moral, what have you, with what's going on, and so I think that it is it's kind of the same thing, but it's done in very different ways, and it makes it a lot worse. Definitely not safe for work, or many places. Not safe for many places.
You should watch by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to talk about the writing a little bit.
Yeah.
So as structural stuff, and this is kind of some of the stuff that I found lacking, was the writing. So something that if you know very much about writing, you know that characters need a motivation, and that motivation should drive the scene. It should drive the story, and it should drive that character, with whatever they're doing through the story. That motivation should be the primary thing that is moving the story forward. So one of the issues with, I think, Kakeguri is that the character motivations, the really important character motivations, are a little nebulous. It's not quite defined, because a character motivation should be pretty specific. So you could say that the main character, Gibami? Gibami, she wants to gamble. That's not a thing she actually needs to work for, because she could just gamble. Like, she does that in every scene, starting from the very first scene that she's in the show. Now, you could say she wants to gamble with the president, and that's not really a thing that drives the scene in any particular way, because she's just kind of moving her way up the rankings. It's just like, she's going to gamble this character, she's going to gamble this character, she's going to gamble this character, and that doesn't really, like, the fact that she wants to gamble with a specific person doesn't really do much. And I think this problem, it kind of makes the story a little stagnant, because you just kind of sit around and you watch this character gamble with a bunch of different people.
So I really don't think the show is about Jabami. I think Jabami. I don't even conceptualize Jabami as a character. I conceptualize her more as like the force of nature that is just moving through. Like, they hint at her backstory, but they don't. Yeah, in the first season, they don't really develop her to the point where I feel like she is a character. She is more just like this representation of the system. That when we get to her backstory, I assume it's going to be about how the like crazy gambling system produced her.
She's like the butterfly effect. She puts everything into motion. If you think about it, she comes in. She goes to I'm blanking on his name. Ryota, changes his life completely. I'm out of debt, and Mary's life is just like, she is like, she's the tornado that the school is just waiting for to shake up everything. So I definitely agree with you. I don't think she was the main character. She was just a turning point for each character to change.
Yeah, it seems like she functions more to set in motion the other characters' development, which in the first season I would say it's Ryoto has development, Mary has development, Fingernails Girl has development, and we see development out of the idol girl.
I actually think that Fingernails. What was her name? What was Fingernails' girl name?
Fingernails.
The girl with the fingernails. I think it's Suki.
Suki
or it's
Suki sounds right.
So she was my favorite character. Because, and I think it's purely because she had the most explored story. Like, I understand, I understand where she's coming from and why she's there and, like, what she wants out of the thing. And this is one of the issues. Like, if we say that Ryuta is the main character, if we say that, he doesn't really want anything. Like, he's not really working towards anything. And it's the same thing. I'd posit that almost none of the characters, I think Suki has a goal. We only really get that the last couple of episodes. But all of the other characters, except for maybe the gun girl, Midari, she has a goal, but it's to die, I think, or it's to feel the tension and fear and rush of being about to die.
I think that theme
It's not a very good
I think
movie.
the like suicide theme depicted in an unfamiliar way as it is in the show, I think it recurs. I think it's more than just her that it shows up in.
Sure.
I think it might be an important theme. I don't remember where else it happens.
Well, okay, and so this is interesting.
Troa's comparing it to Dante's Inferno.
Oh, okay. Well, so this is interesting because I think that one of the things that, like, I would say this is a very anti-gambling show. Because when you look at the characters that have, like, taken it to its final, like, inevitable, quote unquote, destination of, gambling more and more and more, raising the stakes more and more and more, you get to these characters who literally were like, okay, I'm going to, load 3 bullets into a revolver and, point it at my head and pull the trigger. And that's the rush. Like, inevitably, like, suicide.
I don't fully agree with that because I kind of think that whilst there is the element of like, look how bad gambling is.
Sure.
Like the development for Yoda is at the end of her season, he's deciding to be courageous enough to gamble.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's simultaneously saying, look how insane this is, and like, don't be a coward and shy away from it. It's like this is my issue with Chinese manhwa is it's like, look how hideous the world is. The only solution is to partake in that.
Yeah. I mean, I want to just say, like, I got a different take from the show completely.
Yeah.
I got the take of, look at how society is, if you got, like, this is comparing to the movie The Platform of, the strongest will survive, the weakest will die, it's just basically these people are willing to go give whatever it takes to be at the top, because the top means you have power. Winning means you have power. You can own somebody's life. You control so many things, and you don't have to worry about anything. At the bottom, you have to worry of, you have chores to do. You got to be somebody's slave. You have to fight to try to get out of the bad situation. And then if you're at the middle, you're just floating. You're either gonna fall or you're gonna rise. And I feel like that's where the biggest message the show was trying to captivate is just
interesting.
Winners gonna get the winning things, and it's just it plays into society just in general. Like, this is what we go through on a daily basis. People don't care about the weak. People who are struggling or homeless, they care about I need to of themselves. That's gambling.
Yeah,
it's depicted in a very too much of a zero-sum way for me. It's also too focused on revenge, because we have Naname Tsubomi is the character who's the, like,
there is a revenge focus.
Yeah, Naname Tsubomi is the character who's the slave of, like, one of the guys they gamble with. When Mary and, oh my god, if I can get these character names, Mary and Jabami work together when they're gambling, and the thing that happens with Naname Tsubomi is that they tell her, like, goddamn character names, it's so hard. Jabami tells her, like, take this opportunity to get revenge. Revenge is your freedom. And the development for Naname is that she is courageous enough to seek revenge. Whereas in another story, what you might have is when, like, when the slave gets to the position of the master and they wield power over the person who previously punished them, they do something noble and heroic, like they say, "I'm not like you," and they, like, throw down their weapon and walk away. In this, it's the opposite. It's instead, the revenge is what sets you free.
But is it really?
Yeah.
Because, like, I really like how Suavecito put that, because, like, the world itself.
Yes, it is the world.
All about who has the power, and if you think about that in society terms. But, like, in society, that's kind of how society works.
Society isn't zero sum, though, and it's also there's a
who's society?
Yeah.
Even in the world, like, even the top gamblers and the student councils still had power in the world. You know, like Itsuki, who was the father of the toy factory, I believe, she lost a lot of it, and her father basically went like all his stuff was like done. You know, so that a lot of the power in that school revolved around the whole world. So whoever was on top had power over the world in a way, and the show definitely capitalized on that. It's just like this school is the main.
Oh yeah.
These people, if you're on the top, they control everything.
Well, it's also, it's like, it's just too much of a depiction of the of all of reality in that light for me, because this is what happens in all like Chinese manhwa. They do the same thing. It's like all
You've
of
been
reality.
reading a lot of Chinese manhwa
I've
lately,
read too
haven't
much.
you?
I've had to stop reading Chinese manhwa because it's so. I think Fearless
here.
I think Fearless Dad is Chinese, but Fearless Dad's got none of this, so I love Fearless Dad. But the issue is in real life, you don't have a zero-sum situation. Right? Like, the fact that you own a television doesn't mean you stole from someone else. Like, you don't have to take, and you can produce value yourself, and
I can
your
win,
position
and you
isn't
don't have to
purely
lose.
arbitrary.
Right.
Like, so the two best predictors of success in Western society are intelligence and conscientiousness. And that's what you would hope for in a society that isn't arbitrary. Because the people who work hard and the people who are smart are the ones who earn the most money.
Right. So, but okay. So this is basically, I can agree with the idea that the Kakeguri does present, and it's just because of I think the framework of the gambling, the gambling thing. When you have a giant school and everybody gambles and everybody has a certain amount of money, it is basically, this person wins and that person loses. And so as a like metaphor for all of society, it's not like perfectly ideal, because there's definitely, just because one person wins doesn't mean that somebody else has to lose in like the normal world. And so I think it because it is doing this thing where it's trying to create a big, this is society kind of thing. So I do think it's maybe a little bit, off base of, but just because of the way that it's presented, and it's doing it in kind of a, I don't know if I want to say a darker way, or a more pessimistic way.
Well, it's doing like there's like this Marxist element to it, of like the very thing we are pursuing is the thing we want to destroy. Which is
right. No, that's fair.
And I don't like the revenge focus. It's
the revenge. But okay, so we have talked about that for a minute. So we are gonna change our topics real quick. Let's talk about. Well, do we want to talk about the music for the show? Or in the intro? I actually really liked the intro.
I liked the intro.
Surprisingly.
The intro.
It was pretty catchy.
It was solid.
It was good. It was weird. I enjoyed it.
It was funny. Like, I found the show randomly, and the intro actually brought me into watching it. It's like the music, everything, like the visuals. I was like,
totally.
All right, let me go get some popcorn. Let me just sit down and watch this.
It's super.
I'm in for the show.
Super colorful, kind of poppy.
I love the way that it starts out, like almost like a stereotypical like drawing of anime, but then they like go on that crazy train, and it's so stark of a contrast that I really like that.
Right.
I think they played that really well.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and the outro was not bad. It was not bad. That's what I'll say about the outro. As far as best girl, Mandy, do you have any thoughts?
Ryoto.
Ryoto? Yeah, that's fair. Was Ryoto the... Okay. Yeah, that's fair. God, they're all very unhealthy people. I don't know if I would want to get involved with them in any way, actually.
I would have to say Mary.
Say Mary?
Mary,
and the blonde girl?
Yeah, the blonde girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something about her just... I like she was my favorite character.
Yeah.
She has the most of a turnaround in her.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
She always like she was like the top, and then she got knocked down by Giovanni, and she just played that underdog role,
Yeah,
and
totally.
it just I thought it was just amazing. Like she was like, okay, I got confidence. I see she's doing it's like Goku and Vegeta kind of thing. I'm always chasing
Totally.
after you. By watching you, I'm growing as well and becoming stronger. So I love that.
Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite.
Moxie and confidence, and even cockiness that sometimes it's just. Honestly, she was my favorite character, and I think she was like one of the main ones as well.
Yeah, totally. No, I think that character dynamic, the character, yeah, the characters chasing each other or chasing after the same thing with a competitiveness. That's a great character relationship, and I
she
love
was like
that.
living in her shadow, but eventually she gets out of it. It's beautifully made.
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay.
Is this because this is a manga, right? How long is the manga? I wonder.
I'll look it up.
Because I know there's two seasons of the show. I don't know how long the manga is. Probably tremendously long.
It's pretty big.
Yeah, as per protocol.
80 chapters. It says.
Okay.
80.
I wonder what a chapter is. Interesting. Okay, so let's go through the great pretty good music. I actually thought the animation was really good too. I will say that I didn't particularly like the exaggerated facial expressions, but they were done well. Good animation, good expressions, especially if you're into that extreme exaggeration.
What was your favorite part about it?
That's a good question.
My favorite was the intro. I like the intro.
The intro is really solid. You know what? Actually, the character designs, I think all the characters were relatively distinct, and there were actually something I always appreciate deeply in shows and anime and anything, especially anything animated, is there was a nice diversity of different body types within the show. So like the crazy chick with a gun, Midari, she was a little bit more muscular almost. She had a different nose. The girl with the fingernails was small and her head was kind of round. All the characters were very distinct, and I thought there's some great like subtle detail in the way the characters were designed that was really good.
I guess I would have to say how even though the show is like anti-gambling, it kind of made you want to gamble.
Exactly. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, and they just did such a great job of how different each gambling game was, and they put a lot of effort and time into it, and it showed. Because like I was like, oh my gosh, I know this might take my finger off, but I kind of want to do this.
Right. This is probably very dangerous.
It's that adrenaline rush. It's that.
It's
that gratification.
Yeah, I agree. I would say though that I could have done, and I knew it was going to happen the first 5 seconds of the first episode, and I was saying, oh my God, there's going to be so much narration in this. There's going to be narration in every single scene, and there was narration and exposition in every single scene. Because they had to explain every game every time. Because they were like weird and complicated.
It's crazy that throughout the show, the stakes and the games got crazier, and it feels like gambling obviously is addiction, and they play on that too. And it's just like, okay, what happens when the addiction? You usually get a tolerance for whatever drug you're taking. So let's up the ante. So the higher the tolerance, the more it gets. So what's the biggest game you can play? All right, let's try to kill ourselves.
Right. So and this is interesting premise for that reason. Okay, who would you recommend this show to? Bad. Who would you recommend this show to?
I don't think I've ever said this before. I actually wouldn't recommend this to anyone.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, it's like Chinese manhwa. It's like I would recommend something that is not that almost.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That is fair. Suavecito, who would you recommend this show to?
I would have to say somebody who likes something dark,
Sure,
like
sure.
that kind of atmospheric, drama, intense.
Yeah,
intensity.
absolutely. Something a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
Hallen, what do you think? Who would you recommend this to?
Not to any kids ever.
No kids.
No kids.
No kids are.
Minus the NSFW.
Definitely
stuff.
somebody who is already into anime who agreed. It's dark and can deal with that, the addiction part. Because I think if somebody has an addiction like that, I would not recommend this to them.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That is fair. I suppose if I were to recommend this to anybody, maybe somebody who liked really wacky, like over the top shows and had a really dark sense of humor. Maybe like, gosh, it'd be a very. I feel like the person that I would recommend
It's a
this
niche.
show.
It's a niche.
Yeah. Yes, it is. The person I would recommend the show to, I think I don't know who they are, but I think I'd know them when I met them. Is how I feel.
That's fair.
That's fair.
But
I think I'd run away from them when I met them.
that's fair. Okay.
I'm one of the people you would recommend too. I'm one of the nicest people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of those things. Like, there's, people like all kinds of shows. You might like something, you might not like something. It might tickle you in a weird way. It doesn't matter. If you like something, you like it. As long as it's not like attacking people on the street, don't do that. Okay. So, thank you for humoring me, Mandy. I appreciate that. Any final thoughts? We're going to just talk about some final thoughts. Final thoughts on the show? Anybody?
If you like it, read Chinese manhwa.
Go read some Chinese manhwa.
We get you've been in
Thank you.
that train this week.
Boom. Perfect.
I would say this show has a lot of different meanings just other than gambling.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a big thing. So
if you like,
I love the undertones.
If you like trying to pull your own meanings out of a show that is difficult to pull meaning from, or that's kind of convoluted in a way, if you really like trying to pull your own meaning out of it, you might enjoy it.
Yeah. The subliminal messages.
Exactly. All right. So real quick though, not real quick. We're going to talk about a couple things. We had a little discussion earlier, and we just wanted to save a little bit of time. That was our talk on Kakeguri. It was great. We're going to talk about a few things. So, Suavecito, you have a channel, a Twitch channel. What do you do?
I mostly play games. Like strategy card games, horror.
Right. And what is the name of your Twitch channel too?
Twitch.tv/Suavecito. SOAVECITO.
His name is there.
Yeah, that's my name is my Twitch channel.
And so just so you know, that's where he is. But we were having a conversation a little bit earlier. We were talking about superheroes. He brought up My Hero, and he said he absolutely hates that show. That's here. We've talked about that show a couple times for a couple reasons. But Suavecito, I'm curious. You say you have a grudge against superheroes. Tell me about that.
I do, and I just feel like it's giving the wrong impression of what a superhero should be. I've been an EMT. I feel like real heroes are people who are doctors, dentists, firefighters, police officers. So I've always felt like those are superheroes, and like, yes, I understand like the fiction of that.
Yeah,
I guess I never got out of that depiction of this is what superheroes should be, and they should get more attention than something that's fictional, who's like flying. Yes, it's cool to believe in as a kid, but when you look at the real world and reality, we can't fly. We can't walk on water. We can't run super speed. And I just it didn't matter what kind of superheroes they were. I just always went back to, I watched Ladder 49, which is a movie about firefighters. And that movie was one of the top movies I've ever watched.
Right.
And it just, it's just the realism of it. I can't. I don't know. For me,
So-
I just superheroes don't get to me.
Is it fair to say then that your aversion to My Hero is not to My Hero specifically, but to superheroes in general?
Yes, yes. Is it like it? Yeah.
So,
Like yeah.
My liking of My Hero is that despite it being a superhero thing, it's very, very well done.
This is interesting, yeah, because this is generally our opinion too, or my opinion too. I am not a big fan of superheroes. Bad, I think he's also not a huge fan of superheroes. Superheroes are interesting, and I think that they say a lot about society, and they say a lot about like. Well, they say a lot about a lot of things, but superheroes. I think the most interesting superheroes are the ones that don't have any powers whatsoever. Have you seen One Punch Man?
Yes.
We were just talking about it in the chat. Moomin Rider. Do you remember Moomin Rider? Moomin Rider is the most heroic. He won the most heroic character, or the most heroic hero in our Best of 2020 show, because he just rides a bike and he runs around to try to save the day with his bike. It's
He
So-
does everyday things and doesn't have superpowers.
I will say, Fire Force.
Fire Force.
Fire Force was. I enjoyed it actually. And even
I
that
haven't
one,
watched that yet.
Really, I actually,
Right.
out of all that, I did enjoy that one. Just even that one guy that just didn't even have any powers or anything. Like,
Right.
just it's the firefight aspect we're putting out. We're doing
Sure.
something. This is a regular job. We get paid to do this. We're saving people's life. That's, I don't know. I guess more
Yeah.
to this thing, like area of what I'm in, like my
Right.
mindset.
So
It
what,
resonated.
what do you think? What do you think? What do you think a superhero story needs? Like, what would make a superhero story interesting to you? What is it if you're seeing a trailer for a superhero story? What makes it look interesting to you?
I actually never thought about that.
He's really good at asking those questions.
Damn. I really don't have an answer. I feel like
totally.
I'm more of a. I have to see it to know.
Sure,
but I
sure.
guess like a story, but I feel another thing. I just feel like superhero stories is the same plot.
Oh
You
God,
know,
yeah.
At the beginning, something bad happens.
Right.
The superhero is
Yeah.
going after the villain. The villain gets over the superhero. The superhero has like a moment of realization that they hit rock bottom and then they overcome
Right.
it. Like
Yeah.
it's just like in any of those, it's just the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's played out. And that's another.
Especially in the West. In the West, we're so inundated with superheroes, and we've been for a long time. And now with the boom in Hollywood movies for superheroes, it's like zombie movies 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's Shazam. Actually, I will say, out of all the superhero movies I've watched, and I watched a lot of them,
Interesting.
I actually didn't mind that one, and I felt like it was different. I will expand on it like another time.
No, sure.
But
So that was interesting. I never saw that. I never saw Shazam, and I think I never saw it because the way that it was advertised was as a comedy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
and
why
And
I
that was
didn't
kind of
see it
that was
either.
kind of a weird place to do it, like a kind of a weird way to do a superhero movie. It was as a comedy. I think
It's true.
let me see, what was the last superhero movie that I don't even remember how it was, but I remember, what was it Hitch, or no, sorry, it was what is the
It
one,
wasn't very good. I don't think it was Hitch. Was it?
what was the one with where Will Smith
I
is
know
like
what
a
you're
washed up
talking
superhero?
about.
Hancock.
Hancock, thank you.
Hancock.
Yeah,
That was it.
So I knew Will Smith was in it. So that was a movie I don't remember how it was, but I remember it was very different than most
That's
of the superhero
okay.
movies coming out of the time. I don't remember if it was good, but it was definitely a lot different. I don't know if I don't think it did very well.
No.
No.
Yeah, no. I think I definitely.
We're just like, no.
No, it didn't do very well. It was rough. Yeah, but I think it's definitely a genre, and this is one of the things when like as a writer, especially when someone talks to me about wanting to write a story, if it's a superhero story, especially because I was like talking to a lot of people who wanted to write comics, and they want to write a superhero comic. And if you want to write a superhero comic, you are going to be lost in a very large ocean full of people who all want to write a superhero comic, and they're all exactly the same comic.
The reason I don't like it is because I don't feel like they follow, like, they have one objective, and that's like, look at me. And I don't like that. I feel like that's the wrong message to send if you're writing something like that,
Sure.
because
They may also be less conducive to side characters or to like
that's fair.
plentiful characters.
well,
I'm
and
not sure on that.
it's not based in reality. It's not grounded. I can't stand when it's not grounded.
I feel like Static. Have you guys ever seen Static Shock?
Oh, that sounds so familiar.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Yeah, that's with the black superhero who had the power of like electricity.
oh yeah.
I don't think I did.
That one had more of a play of like, it was superhero versus supervillains, but it had to do more of like New York City, but real problems, not like
No, totally. Well, and ultimately
more grounded.
Yes. Yeah.
Ultimately, I think when you get down to it, one of the things that happens with superhero stories is you have people are trying to tell like a big grand conflict story, and I think the more interesting stuff are the more human struggles that people have. And
that Static Shock has that, just it's not only about the superhero, but it's with every other aspect because it had racism, it had poverty, it had homeless, it had it touched on so many different aspects instead of like Holland said, like, look at me, I'm the main focal point of this movie or show. I have to do what I have to do to be the best, to help us save the world, when it could be to a smaller magnitude.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. And that just making it more human, and having those human connections, in those human struggles, identifiable human struggles. Those are the things that I think can make a superhero story interesting, and we don't get it very much, just because people are just like action movies. People are focused on the pretty exciting action scenes, and they're focused less on the actual story.
Agreed.
But okay, so real quick before we're getting up there, we only have about 4 minutes left. Let's talk real quick about what we're watching next week, or next time, not next week, the week after next week. Do we know? Is there? Did we talk about that? I know we didn't.
I don't think we. Yeah.
Suggestions.
So actually, how about this, Suavecito? Do you have any interesting suggestions for shows that we might watch?
Kabanari of the Iron Fortress.
Ooh,
do you know that one?
That one?
That one is
Got good back muscles in that one.
Really?
that one's good.
Good back muscles.
That's like my top 5 favorite anime of all time.
Really?
Iron Fortress, huh?
Kabanari of the Iron. Okay.
It's my 4th time watching it.
Oh wow, interesting.
Nice.
And what is this, Noah? Have you seen this one?
Yeah.
Sell it to us.
And so, have you guys ever seen Snowpiercer with the train?
Yes.
I yes.
It's
Okay.
the zombie. Okay, so Snowpiercer and Train to Busan.
Oh
put
wow.
into one. So if you like Train to Busan,
Interesting.
and if you like Snowpiercer, it's the same thing. It basically, the human race is barely existing, and they're taken over by, they call it Kabane.
Okay.
And they're technically zombies. Haha, see, zombie
Right.
person. But,
Yeah.
but there are people who are Kabanaris, which are half human, half zombie, and they are helping to help the humans, but they still have the Kabanaris part of them, and they have to drink blood to survive. It's crazy.
Interesting.
It's crazy.
Interesting.
A lot of it takes a part in the train, and it has so many different aspects of it. I definitely recommend it to a lot of people. It has the horror aspect, it has the thriller, the character development, it has everything that I want in the anime.
Interesting. I wonder. Well, what do you guys think of that? We could do. Was it Kabanari?
Yeah, I'll
Kabanari.
post it in the chat too.
All right. I mean, I think, Bad, if you're good with that, I think that sounds like a reasonable one.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So that sounds good.
Unfortunately, I wish they had more, but it's like there's like 10 or 12 episodes. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
one season.
Perfect.
Oh yeah. You know what? That's awesome because we are always so strapped for time.
I hear you.
It's so yeah, that sounds perfect. So that's gonna be what is that? The Saturday, the 16th of January.
Yep.
We're gonna be watching or talking about Kapanari in the Iron Fortress. That should be interesting. Definitely, if you guys enjoyed watching us today, go ahead and check out Suavecito's Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/Suavecito. That is SOAVECITO. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Hey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye.